The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. Among the distant stars, something moved that did not belong there. The alien ship called Void Whisper drifted through the outer edges of the solar system like a ghost. Hall absorbed light instead of reflecting it. No human eye could see it. No human machine could detect it. Commander Kael'vas stood before the main viewing screen of his ship. His tall, thin body cast a shadow across the metal floor. His skin was pale blue and smooth like polished stone. 4 arms extended from his torso, each ending in hands with 6 long fingers. His head was larger than a human head, with no hair, and 6 dark eyes arranged in 2 rows. He watched the third planet from the sun spin slowly in the distance. The planet looked blue and green and white from space. Clouds swirled across its surface. Kael'vas had seen many worlds like this one during his long career as a warrior of the Galactic Dominion. Another primitive world, he said to himself. His voice was deep and carried a strange musical quality. The third rock from their star. They probably just learned to fly between their own planets. Behind him, his tactical officer Nimrata worked at her control station. She was shorter than the commander, but built the same way. Her skin was darker blue, almost purple. 8 tentacles grew from the back of her head instead of hair. Tentacles moved constantly as she thought, curling and uncurling like nervous snakes. "Commander," she said without looking up from her screens, "this system has one intelligent species. They call themselves humans. They live on the third planet and have small colonies on 2 nearby moons." Kael'vas turned away from the viewing screen. "How primitive are they?" Nimrata touched several controls with her 6-fingered hands. Information flowed across her screen in the flowing script of her people. "Very primitive, sir. They still burn fossil fuels for energy. They use chemical rockets to travel between planets. Their fastest ships take months to cross their own solar system. Weapons: basic nuclear missiles, chemical explosives, projectile weapons that fire metal bullets. Nothing that could threaten our shields." Kael'vas nodded. This was exactly what he expected to find. The Galactic Dominion had been expanding across the galaxy for over 3,000 years. In that time, they had conquered 42 star systems. 17 different species now served the Dominion as workers or soldiers. None had ever been able to resist for long. The Dominion's method was always the same. Send a scout ship to study the new species, learn about their technology, their biology, their society. Then send the invasion fleet. Most species surrendered. After the first battle, the few that tried to fight were quickly defeated. Sir Nimrata said, "I'm detecting a ship approaching our position." Kael'vas moved to stand behind her station. "Show me." The tactical display lit up with a 3-dimensional map of the local area. A small red dot moved slowly toward their position. Numbers and symbols in the alien script provided details about the approaching vessel. "Human ship," Nimrata reported. "Length, approximately 200 meters. Crew of 43 individuals, powered by a fusion reactor. Armed with kinetic weapons and nuclear missiles." "Pathetic," Kael'vas said. "Our ship is 5 times larger and 1,000 times more powerful." "What are they doing out here?" "According to their radio transmissions, they are on a routine patrol. They are checking the outer regions of their solar system for asteroids and space debris." Kael'vas smiled, showing teeth that were perfectly white and perfectly straight. "Perfect. We can observe them up close without them knowing we exist. Prepare to follow them." The human ship was called Un's Explorer. It moved through space on pillars of blue fire from its fusion engines. The ship was built for function, not beauty. Its hull was gray metal covered with sensor arrays, weapon mounts, and communication dishes. Solar panels extended from its sides. Like wings, inside the ship, Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair on the bridge. He was 42 years old with short brown hair and tired eyes. He had served in Earth's Space Navy for 20 years. Most of that time had been spent fighting other humans in the unification wars that had finally brought peace to Earth 5 years ago. "Captain," called Navigator Ben Wright from his station, "we're approaching the outer marker buoy." "Should I?" "Begin the return course to Earth." Morrison looked around the bridge of his ship. The bridge was small and cramped. 6 workstations were arranged in a circle around his command chair. The walls were covered with screens showing the status of every system on the ship. Red and green lights blinked constantly. The air recycling system hummed quietly in the background. Yet, Ben, let's finish our sweep of this sector first. I want to check those gravitational readings we picked up yesterday. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker looked up from her station. She was 35 years old with blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. Grease stains marked her blue work uniform. Captain, those readings were probably just background noise from Jupiter's magnetic field. Nothing to worry about. Maybe. Morrison replied, but I'd rather be sure. We're the only ship patrolling this region. If something is out here, we need to know about it. Weapons Officer Ryan Clark nodded in agreement. He was 28 years old and built like a professional athlete. His black hair was cut military short. Better safe than sorry, Captain, especially after what happened to the mining station last month. Morrison's expression grew serious. A mining station in the asteroid belt had gone silent 3 weeks ago. When the rescue ship arrived, they found the station empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, no explanation. The official report blamed equipment failure, but Morrison had his doubts. Amy, he said to the communications officer, run another scan of the area. Full spectrum. If there's anything out there bigger than a spacesuit, I want to know about it. Communications specialist Amy Foster was the youngest member of the crew at 24 years old. Her red hair was braided down her back and freckles covered her pale face. Yes, sir. Beginning full spectrum scan now. Unknown to the humans, the alien ship Void Whisper followed them through space. The advanced cloaking system made the ship invisible to human sensors. The Zephyrians could watch and listen to everything the humans did without being detected. Interesting, Nimrata observed. Their captain is cautious. He suspects something might be wrong in this region of space. Natural paranoia, Kelvos replied. All primitive species are afraid of the unknown. It helps them survive on their violent worlds. Should we move away from them? No, this is perfect. We can study them while they conduct their patrol, learn how they operate their ships, how they think, how they react to different situations. Nimrata's tentacles curled with concern. Sir, what if they detect us somehow? Kelvos laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Impossible. Our cloaking technology is based on principles they won't discover for another 1,000 years. To them, we simply don't exist. On the bridge of the UN's Explorer, Amy Foster frowned at her sensor readings. Captain, I'm picking up some unusual patterns in the background radiation. Could be natural phenomena, but the readings are inconsistent. Morrison leaned forward in his chair. Explain. Well, sir, it's like there's something out there that's bending space-time just slightly. The effect is so small that our sensors can barely detect it, but it's definitely there. Could it be a black hole or neutron star? No, sir. The gravitational signature is wrong. It's more like something very massive is using some kind of technology to hide itself. The bridge fell silent. Everyone turned to look at Captain Morrison. In the years since Earth had unified, humans had often wondered if they were alone in the universe. They had found no signs of other intelligent life, but the galaxy was vast. Most people believed that somewhere among the billions of stars, other civilizations must exist. Morrison made his decision. 10. Alter course. Take us toward those readings. Lisa, I want all systems at full power. Ryan, bring our weapons online. But keep them in standby mode. Amy, start recording everything. If we're about to make first contact with an alien species, I want a complete record. Yes, sir, came the replies from around the bridge. The UN's Explorer changed course and began moving toward the source of the strange readings. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, their training taking over despite the extraordinary circumstances. Each of them understood that they might be about to witness the most important moment in human history. Aboard the Void Whisper, alarms began to sound softly. Nimrata's tentacles writhed with alarm as she studied her instruments. Commander, she said, her musical voice tight with worry. They're coming directly toward us. Somehow they've detected our presence. Kelvos moved quickly to her station. That's impossible. Check your instruments. I've run 3 diagnostics, sir. Our cloaking system is functioning perfectly. but their ship is heading straight for our position. How could they possibly detect us? Nimrata worked frantically at her controls. I don't know, sir. But they've armed their weapons and increased power to all systems. They know something is here. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Kael'vas felt a flicker of uncertainty. The humans were supposed to be primitive. Their technology was supposed to be thousands of years behind Zephyrian science. Commander Kael'vas watched the human ship grow larger on his viewing screen. The UN's explorer moved through space with steady purpose, its fusion engines glowing bright blue against the darkness. The alien commander had seen thousands of ships, from dozens of different species, but something about this one made him uneasy. Begin the deep scan, he ordered. Nimrata's tentacles moved across her control panel like dancing snakes. Yes, sir. Initiating full spectrum analysis. The deep scan was the most powerful tool in the Zephyrian arsenal for studying new species. Invisible beams of energy would pass through the human ship from bow to stern. Every piece of metal, every electronic circuit, every living being aboard would be mapped and analyzed. The scan would reveal the ship's weapons, its defenses, its technology level, and most importantly, the biological and psychological nature of its crew. Scan penetration? At 10%, Nimrata reported. I'm reading basic hull composition, iron and steel alloys, nothing sophisticated. Primitive welding techniques. As expected, Kael'vas replied. What about their power systems? Fusion reactors, sir? Lean burning but low output? It's about what we'd expect from a species that just learned to split atoms. The scanning beam pushed deeper into the human ship, passed through corridor walls and equipment bays, mapping everything in perfect detail. The Zephyrians had used this same scan on 16 other species. It had never failed to provide complete intelligence about their enemies. I'm detecting their weapon systems now, Nimrata continued. Railguns that fire metal projectiles at high speed. Nuclear missiles with chemical explosive warheads. Laser systems that are barely more powerful than flashlights. Kael'vas nodded, pathetic. Our shields could stop their most powerful weapons without even warming up. But as the scan went deeper, Nimrata began to frown. Her 6 eyes studied, the data flowing across her screens. Sir, I'm getting some unusual readings from their crew quarters. What kind of readings? Biological data on the humans themselves. Their physical structure is similar to ours but simpler. Arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Their internal chemistry is strange. On the bridge of the UN's Explorer, chief engineer, Lisa Parker noticed something wrong with her instruments. Several warning lights had appeared on her control panel. Captain, I'm seeing some unusual power fluctuations throughout the ship. Captain Morrison turned in his command chair. What kind of fluctuations? It's like something is scanning our electrical systems. Pattern doesn't match any natural phenomenon I know about. Communications specialist Amy Foster looked up from her station. Sir, I'm detecting some kind of energy beam directed at our ship. Very low power, almost undetectable. If I hadn't been looking for it specifically, I would have missed it.
Morrison
Felt his heart rate increase. His hands gripped the arms of his chair. Where is it coming from? The same location as those gravitational readings, sir. Whatever's out there, it's actively scanning us. Navigator Ben Wright checked his instruments. Captain, should I take evasive action? Morrison thought quickly. If there really was an alien ship out there, changing course might be seen as hostile. But allowing an unknown enemy to scan his ship without response went against every military instinct he possessed. Maintain course for now, he decided, but everyone stay ready. Lisa, can you boost power to our shields? Already working on it. Sir, I can give you full defensive power in 30 seconds. Do it! Aboard the Void Whisper, Nimrata's scan reached the bridge of the human ship. She could now see Captain Morrison and his crew through her instruments. Their biological signs appeared on her screen in glowing colors. Fascinating, she murmured. Sir, you need to see this. The humans are showing elevated stress responses, but not in the way we'd expect. Explain. Most species we've scanned show fear when they detect our presence. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, stress hormones flood their system. They usually try to run away or hide. And these humans, Nimrata's tentacles coiled nervously. They're showing stress, yes. But their brain chemistry is different. Instead of fear, I'm reading high levels of adrenaline, norepinephrine, and something called dopamine. What does that mean? Not sure, sir. Their muscle tension suggests they're preparing for action, not flight. The scan pushed deeper, into the ship's computer systems. Here Nimrata found the ship's database containing human history, culture, and military records. What she saw there made her 6 eyes widen with surprise. Commander, I'm accessing their information systems. The data I'm finding is very disturbing. Show me. The main viewing screen filled with images from human history. Battles fought with primitive weapons across muddy fields, massive explosions from nuclear weapons, armies of millions facing each other across devastated landscapes. These humans have been at war for their entire recorded history, Nimrata reported. Over 5,000 years of continuous conflict. They fought with everything from sharpened sticks to weapons that can destroy entire cities. Kael'vas studied the images with growing interest. All species fight territorial wars. This is not unusual. Sir, this is different. Look at the patterns. The screen showed a timeline of human conflicts. Small tribal wars grew into larger battles between kingdoms. Those grew into wars between nations that involved millions of soldiers. Finally, global wars that threatened the entire species. Every few decades, they fight a major war, Nimrata explained, and each war drives rapid advancement in their technology. They don't just fight to win territory or resources. They fight to test new weapons and tactics. Impossible. No rational species would continuously fight its own kind. Sir, according to their records, they call it progress through conflict. Every major breakthrough in their science came from military research. Nuclear power, computer systems, space travel, medical advances, even their communication networks, all developed for warfare. On the Explorer's bridge, Weapons Officer Ryan Clark noticed something alarming on his tactical display. Captain, whatever is scanning us just accessed our computer network. Someone is reading our files. Morrison's jaw tightened.
What files?
Everything, sir. Ship specifications, crew records, military databases. They're downloading our entire information system. Can you stop it? I'm trying, but their technology is far beyond ours. It's like trying to stop a river with a fishing net. Morrison made a decision that would prove crucial to humanity's future. Amy, send an emergency signal to Fleet Command. Tell them we have confirmed alien contact. Send everything we know about their position and capabilities. Yes, sir. Ben, plot an intercept course for the source of that scanning beam. If they want to study us, we'll give them a close look. Sir, that might be considered an act of aggression. Navigator right. Warned. Good, Morrison replied grimly. I want them to know we don't appreciate being examined like laboratory specimens. Back on the Void Whisper, Nimrata's scan revealed more disturbing information about human psychology. Commander, I'm analyzing their mental patterns. These humans have a concept they call fighting spirit. When faced with a superior enemy, their brain chemistry actually improves their performance instead of hindering it. That makes no sense from an evolutionary standpoint. Sir, it gets worse. I'm reading their military manuals and training procedures. They have detailed plans for fighting enemies with superior technology. They've spent centuries developing tactics for asymmetric warfare. The images on the screen showed human guerrilla fighters hiding in jungles and mountains, using primitive weapons to defeat technologically advanced armies. Small groups of humans destroying much larger forces through cunning and determination. Look at this, Nimrata continued. They have an entire philosophy called adapt and overcome. When faced with a new threat, they don't just react to it. They study it, learn from it, and develop countermeasures. Kael'vas began to feel the first stirrings of genuine concern. What about their current military capabilities? That's what worries me most, sir. Their weapons may be primitive by our data device standards, but their tactical thinking is extremely sophisticated. They fought wars in every possible environment and condition. Desert, jungle, Arctic, underwater, even in space. Space? Yes, sir. They've already fought several battles between ships in their own solar system. Small conflicts, but they learned. From each one, the scan revealed human space battle tactics. Ships, using asteroids for cover, coordinated attacks by multiple vessels. Even ramming attacks, where humans deliberately crashed their ships into enemy vessels. Sir Nimrata said quietly, "There's something else. I'm detecting unusual stress." Responses from their crew? What kind of responses? They're not afraid of us. Their brain chemistry shows they're excited. They see this first contact as an opportunity, not a threat. On the Explorer's bridge, Captain Morrison watched his tactical display as his ship moved closer to the alien position. Distance to target? It's 2 kilometers and closing, Ben Wright reported. Any response from the alien vessel? Communications Officer Amy Foster shook her head. Nothing, sir. They're still scanning us. But they haven't tried to communicate. Maybe. They can't, suggested Chief Engineer Lisa Parker. Their technology might be so different from ours that they don't know how to talk to us. Or maybe they don't want to talk. The scanning beam pushed deeper into the human ship's computer systems. Nimrata's tentacles moved frantically across her controls as more and more data flooded her screens. What she found in the human databases made her 6 eyes widen with growing. "Horror, Commander," she said, her musical voice trembling. "I need to show you something." The human military records go back much further than I first thought. Kelvos moved closer to her station. How far back? Over 10,000 years, sir. And the pattern is consistent throughout their entire history. The main viewing screen filled with images from human warfare across the centuries. Cave paintings showed early humans hunting massive beasts with simple spears. Ancient battles displayed thousands of warriors clashing with bronze swords and wooden shields. Medieval sieges featured massive stone castles being destroyed by primitive cannons. Every generation of humans has faced extinctional-level threats, Nimrata explained. And every time, they survived by becoming better at warfare. The images changed to show more recent conflicts. Humans in trenches firing machine guns across muddy fields. Massive steel ships shooting explosive shells across ocean waters. Aircraft dropping bombs on cities, while other aircraft fought them in the sky. "Look at this progression, sir," Nimrata continued. "In less than 100 years, they went from fighting with horses and single-shot rifles to building weapons that could destroy their entire planet." Kelvos studied the timeline of human technological advancement. "Show me their current capabilities." The screen displayed modern human military equipment. Nuclear submarines that could hide under the ocean for months. Spacecraft armed with kinetic weapons that could strike targets from orbit. Computer networks that could coordinate attacks across their entire planet in seconds. Sir, they haven't just developed weapons. They've developed an entire science of warfare. Military academies, strategic planning centers, think tanks devoted entirely to finding new ways to fight. On the bridge of the UN's Explorer, Captain Morrison watched his ship approach the alien position. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every crew member knew they were possibly about to engage in the first battle between humans and an alien species. "Distance to target?" Morrison asked. 1 kilometer in closing, Navigator Ben Wright replied. "Still no visual contact. Their cloaking technology is impressive," admitted Chief Engineer Lisa Parker. "But it's not perfect. I'm detecting small fluctuations in local gravity that suggest something very large is out there." Communications Officer Amy Foster looked up from her station with a worried expression. "Captain, I'm monitoring their scanning beam. The intensity has increased dramatically in the last few minutes. They're really digging deep into our systems now." Morrison's hands tightened on the arms of his command chair. "What kind of information?" "Are they accessing everything, sir? Personnel files, technical manuals, historical databases. They're learning about human civilization, not just our ship." "Sir," interrupted Weapons Officer Ryan Clark, "I have a targeting solution on there." "Approximate position. Should I prepare to fire?" Morrison hesitated. Starting a shooting war with an unknown alien species could doom humanity if the aliens had friends nearby, but allowing them to gather intelligence unopposed went against every military principle he had ever learned. Hold your fire for now, Ryan, but stay ready. Back aboard the Void Whisper, Nimrata's analysis reached human psychological profiles and cultural studies. What she found there was even more disturbing than their military. History, Commander. I'm reading their entertainment media now. Their books, movies, games, songs, almost all of it involves conflict and warfare. Entertainment based on violence is common among primitive species, Kael'vas replied dismissively. No, sir, this is different. They don't just enjoy stories about war, they study them. Their fiction contains detailed tactical scenarios, weapon designs, strategic concepts. They use entertainment to prepare for real battles. The screen showed scenes from human movies and books, heroes fighting against impossible odds, small groups of rebels defeating vast empires, ordinary people becoming warriors when their families were threatened. Look at their most popular stories, Nimrata said. The themes are always the same. Humans facing superior enemies and finding ways to win through courage, cunning, and determination. Fantasy and wishful thinking? Sir, I don't think so. Stories serve as training manuals. They teach humans how to think tactically, how to overcome fear, how to never give up, no matter how bad the situation becomes. The scan revealed something else that chilled both aliens to their cores. Human children were taught about warfare from an early age. History classes focused on battles and military leaders. Sports involved mock combat and strategic thinking. Even their toys were often miniature weapons and vehicles. They're raising their offspring to be warriors, Nimrata reported. Every human child learns about famous battles, military tactics, and heroic sacrifices. Surely they must have some peaceful pursuits, Kael'vas said. They do, sir. But even their peaceful activities often have military applications. Their medical research helps keep soldiers alive in battle. Their space program was originally designed to deliver weapons anywhere on their planet. Their computer networks were built to coordinate military operations. The aliens watched in fascination and growing alarm as the scan revealed the depth of human military thinking. Human generals had written books about warfare that were studied centuries after their deaths. Military academies taught courses on everything from ancient Roman tactics to theoretical space battles. Sir, Nimrata said quietly, they have a saying that appears throughout their culture. If you want peace, prepare for war. They understand that the only way to avoid conflict is to be so good at fighting that no one dares attack them. On the Explorer's bridge, the crew continued their approach toward the alien ship. Captain Morrison had made his decision. If the aliens wanted to study humans, they would learn what humans were really like when confronted with a threat. Amy, open a communication channel on all frequencies, he ordered. Morrison opened, sir. Morrison took a deep breath. His next words might be the first ever spoken between humans and an alien species. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Navy ship Explorer. We know you're out there. We know you've been scanning our ship and our computer systems. We're not here to fight, but we're prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. Please respond. The message was broadcast in dozens of human languages and mathematical concepts that any intelligent species should be able to understand. Morrison waited for a response, his heart pounding in his chest. Aboard the Void Whisper, alarms began sounding softly throughout the ship. Nimrata's tentacles coiled with alarm as she studied her instruments. Commander, they're broadcasting a message directly at our position. Somehow they know exactly where we are. How is that possible? Kael'vas demanded. Our cloaking system has never failed before. I don't know, sir, but they're targeting us with pinpoint accuracy. The alien commander studied the tactical display. The human ship was tiny compared to his vessel. Their weapons were primitive by Zephyrian standards. Their technology was thousands of years behind his own. Yet somehow they had penetrated his cloaking field and were demanding that he respond to their communication. Sir, Nimrata said, there's something else. Humans just sent an emergency message to the rest of their fleet.
They're calling
for reinforcements. How many ships do they have in this system? according to their databases, approximately 200 combat vessels of various sizes. Nothing that could threaten us individually, but if they coordinate their attacks, they couldn't possibly damage our ship with their primitive weapons, sir. That might not be their plan. I'm reading their tactical manuals now. When humans face a superior enemy, they don't try to win through brute force. They use what they call asymmetric warfare. The screen displayed human battle tactics from throughout history. Small forces using terrain to their advantage. Guerrilla fighters, striking and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Saboteurs destroying crucial supplies and equipment. They specialize in finding weaknesses that their enemies don't know they have, Nimrata explained. Even if they can't destroy us, they might find ways to disable our systems or force us to retreat. Impossible. We've conquered 16 different species. None of them ever found a way to seriously threaten our ships. Sir, none of those species spent their entire evolutionary history fighting wars. The humans have had thousands of years to perfect the art of combat. They've faced every possible type of enemy and learned to defeat them all. The scan revealed more disturbing information about human psychology when faced with superior enemies. Humans didn't become discouraged. Instead, they became more creative and determined. History was full of examples of small human forces defeating much larger armies through clever tactics and sheer stubborn refusal to surrender. Commander Nimrata said, her voice filled with growing panic. I'm detecting massive neural activity. Aboard the human ship, their entire crew is thinking tactically. They're already planning how to fight us. Let them plan. Their weapons can't penetrate our shields. Sir, I don't think they plan to attack our shields. The scanning beam reached its deepest level of analysis as Nimrata focused on the individual brain patterns of each human aboard the Explorer. What she found there would change everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about this species. Commander, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, you need to see what happens inside human minds when they face danger. Kael'vas moved to stand directly behind her station. Show me. The main screen displayed the neural patterns of Captain Morrison's brain. Glowing pathways of electrical activity moved through a three-dimensional model of the human mind. Colors shifted and pulsed as different regions activated in response to the current situation. Most species we've studied show predictable brain patterns when threatened, Nimrata explained. Fear activates the primitive brain regions. Logic shuts down. The creature either runs away or freezes in place. And the humans. Watch this. Sir Nimrata highlighted different areas of Morrison's brain as they activated. When Captain Morrison realized we were scanning his ship, his fear centers did activate. But look what happened next. The display showed electrical activity spreading. Two other regions of the human brain, areas associated with problem-solving, pattern recognition, and strategic planning, all lit up at once. His fear didn't shut down his thinking, Nimrata continued. It made his thinking faster and clearer. The stress response actually improved. His mental performance. Kael'vas studied the brain scan with growing amazement. That makes no evolutionary sense. Fear should make creatures cautious, not bold. Sir, it gets worse. Look at the other crew members. The screen split to show the brain patterns of Chief Engineer Lisa Parker. Her neural activity showed intense focus as she calculated ways to increase the ship's power output and defensive capabilities. Every threat assessment triggered immediate problem-solving responses. She's not thinking about how to escape, Nimrata observed. She's thinking about how to fight more effectively. The display changed to show Weapons Officer Ryan Clark's brain patterns. His mind was rapidly processing firing solutions, targeting strategies, and combat scenarios. Even though he had never seen alien technology before, his brain was already working on ways to defeat it in this one, Kael'vas asked, pointing to another neural pattern. Communications Officer Amy Foster, not just sending messages. To their fleet, she's analyzing our scanning techniques to learn about our technology. She's trying to figure out how our systems work so she can find weaknesses. The alien commander felt a chill run through his body. All of them are thinking. Tactically, yes, sir. Every single human aboard that ship has shifted into what their military calls combat mode. Their brains are operating at peak efficiency, focused entirely on finding ways to fight an enemy they've never encountered before. On the bridge of the Un's Explorer, the crew continued their preparations for possible combat. Captain Morrison had given them clear orders, and each officer was doing exactly what their training and instincts told them to do. "Lisa, how much more power can you give me?" Morrison asked. Chief Engineer Parker worked frantically at her console. "I'm redirecting power from non-essential systems now, sir. I can boost our engines by 20% and our shields by 15%. If I push the reactor beyond safety limits, I can give you even more. Do it. We might need every advantage we can get." Navigator Ben Wright looked up from his station. "Captain, I've plotted 3 different escape routes if we need to retreat. Quickly, I've also identified several asteroid clusters we could use for cover." "Good thinking, Ben." Weapons Officer Ryan Clark finished his tactical analysis. "Sir, I've programmed our missiles with proximity detonation patterns. Even if their shields stop our warheads from direct impact, the explosions might disrupt their systems." "And if that doesn't work?" Morrison asked. "I've calculated ramming courses for maximum damage, sir. If we can't hurt them with weapons, we can always use our ship as a missile." Morrison nodded grimly. The willingness to sacrifice themselves to damage an enemy was a uniquely human trait that had appeared in countless battles throughout history. From ancient warriors throwing themselves onto enemy spears, to pilots crashing their aircraft into enemy ships, humans had always been willing to trade their lives for tactical advantage. Back aboard the Void Whisper, Nimrata's analysis revealed even more disturbing aspects of human psychology. She had found records of human behavior in previous battles, and the patterns were unlike anything in the Zephyrian databases. "Commander, I need to show you something that changes everything about how we understand this species." "What is it?" "Sir, humans have a psychological trait that appears nowhere else in our records. When they face impossible odds, when defeat seems certain, when any rational creature would surrender, humans become more dangerous, not less." The screen showed historical examples of human behavior in desperate situations. Soldiers fighting to the last bullet when surrounded by superior forces, entire cities continuing to resist even when under siege for months, populations rising up against occupying armies despite facing certain death. "Look at this battle," Nimrata said, highlighting one particular conflict. 300 human warriors faced an army of over 100,000 enemies. Logic dictated immediate surrender. Instead, they fought for 3 days and killed thousands of their attackers before finally being overwhelmed. "Madness," Kael'vas muttered. "No, sir. Strategy. Their sacrifice inspired their entire civilization to resist the invasion. What should have been a quick conquest turned into a decades-long war that eventually destroyed the invading army." The scan revealed dozens of similar examples throughout human history. Small forces holding impossible positions not because they could win, but because their sacrifice would inspire others to fight. Citizens destroying their own cities rather than let enemies capture them intact. Entire populations choosing death over surrender. "They have a concept called Pyrrhic victory," Nimrata explained. "Even when they lose, they make sure their enemies pay such a high price that the victory becomes meaningless." "Sir," she continued, "there's something else. I'm detecting unusual chemical compounds in the human ship's medical bay." "What kind of compounds?" "Stimulants, pain suppressors, and combat enhancement drugs. They've developed chemicals that can keep their warriors fighting, even when badly injured. Some of these substances can make humans temporarily ignore wounds. That would incapacitate most other species." Kael'vas stared at the medical data in disbelief. "They drug themselves to become better fighters." "Not just that, sir. According to their records, human soldiers have continued fighting with broken bones, severe burns, and massive blood loss. There are documented cases of humans fighting effectively, even after losing limbs." The neural scans revealed another shocking truth about human psychology. It's Unlike other species that fought primarily for territory or resources, humans often fought for abstract concepts like honor, freedom, and revenge. Sir, humans will fight wars that last for generations over ideas, Nimrata reported. Will sacrifice millions of lives for principles that have no physical form. The screen showed conflicts where humans had fought not for land or wealth, but for concepts like religious freedom, political independence, or cultural survival. Wars that continued long after the original causes had been forgotten, sustained by nothing more than the human refusal to admit defeat. They're not just warriors, Nimrata said quietly. They're warrior philosophers. They fight not just with weapons, but with ideas that can inspire entire civilizations to resist. On the Explorer's Bridge, Captain Morrison made his final preparations for contact with the alien vessel. His crew was ready for anything from peaceful negotiation to desperate battle. The human capacity for rapid adaptation was already showing itself. Amy, one more broadcast to the alien ship, Morrison ordered. Tell them they have 60 seconds to respond before we consider their scanning an act of war. Sir, is that wise? Asked Navigator Wright. We don't know how powerful they are. Morrison's expression was grim but determined. Ben, throughout human history, appeasement has never worked with bullies. If they want to fight us, we'll fight. If they want to talk, we'll talk. But we won't be passive victims while they gather intelligence for an attack. Communications Officer Foster sent the message. Transmission complete, sir. Now we wait. Aboard. The Void Whisper alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Nimrata's tentacles writhed with panic as she analyzed the latest data from her scans. Commander, they've just issued an ultimatum. They're demanding that we respond, or they'll consider us hostile. Demanding? Kael'vas could barely believe what he was hearing. They're giving us an ultimatum? Yes, sir. There's something else. I'm detecting massive changes in their neural patterns. The entire crew is shifting into what appears to be a berserker state. Explain, according to their historical records. Humans have a psychological condition they call battle fury. When pushed to their limits, their brain chemistry changes dramatically. Pain reception decreases, reaction time improves, and logical thinking is replaced by pure, aggressive instinct. The 60 seconds Captain Morrison had given the aliens ticked away like a countdown to disaster. On the bridge of the UNS Explorer, every crew member sat at their station ready for action. The tension was so thick it seemed to vibrate in the air itself. 30 seconds remaining, Communications Officer Amy Foster announced. Captain Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair. His knuckles were white with tension, but his voice remained steady. All stations report readiness. Weapons. Hot and ready, called Weapons Officer Ryan Clark. Engines at maximum power, reported Chief Engineer Lisa Parker. Escape routes plotted and locked in, said Navigator Ben Wright. Communication system standing by, added Amy Foster. Morrison nodded. His crew was ready to face whatever came next. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology far beyond their understanding. But they were human, and that meant they would fight. Aboard the alien vessel Void Whisper, Commander Kael'vas faced the most difficult decision of his long military career. Everything his people had learned about warfare told him that his ship was superior in every way. His weapons could destroy the human vessel with a single shot. His shields could absorb their most powerful attacks without taking damage. But everything he had learned about humans in the past, Hour told him that destroying their ship would be the worst mistake he could possibly make. Sir, Nimrata said. Urgently, 15 seconds until their deadline. What are your orders? Kael'vas stared at the tactical display. The human ship looked so small and primitive compared to his own massive vessel. But the crew inside that ship represented something he had never encountered before. They were a species that had turned warfare into an art form, a science, and a religion. Sir, Nimrata pressed. They're waiting for our response. I know, Kael'vas replied quietly. Display the scan results one more time. Show me everything we've learned about these humans. The main screen filled with data. 5,000 years of human warfare, countless battles fought against impossible odds. Technologies developed for the sole purpose of killing enemies more efficiently. A psychology that turned fear into fuel. For aggression, sir, look at this, Nimrata said, highlighting new information that had just come through the scan. I've found their military academy's worst-case scenario plans. What kind of plans? Alien invasion, sir? You've spent decades preparing for exactly this situation. Every major human military has detailed protocols for fighting technologically superior enemies. The screen showed human battle plans that took Kael'vas's breath away, strategies for using their own infrastructure against invaders, plans to turn every human city into a fortress, procedures for organizing resistance movements that could continue fighting for generations. They've even prepared for the possibility that their planet might be destroyed, Nimrata continued. They have hidden colonies, backup genetic banks, and sleeper ships ready to carry human survivors to other star systems. Impossible. No species plans for their own extinction. Sir, humans do. They call it Species Survival Protocol. If Earth is destroyed, survivors are trained to spread across the galaxy and never stop fighting until they've destroyed whoever killed their homeworld. Kael'vas felt the floor seem to shift beneath his feet. You're telling me that if we attack them, even if we win, they'll hunt us across the galaxy forever? Yes, sir. Sir, there's more. I've found records of something they call the human diaspora. They've already sent colony ships to 12 different star systems. If we attack Earth, we'll be facing a war across dozens of worlds. On the Explorer's Bridge, the countdown reached its final moments. 10 seconds, Amy Foster announced. Captain Morrison made his decision. Ryan, prepare to fire. If they won't talk, maybe they'll listen to our weapons. Targeting their position now, sir. 5 seconds. Morrison raised his hand, ready to give the order to fire. Every instinct told him that shooting first might be humanity's only chance. His military training said that hesitation in the face of a superior enemy was often fatal. 3 seconds. Morrison's hand began to fall toward the firing button. 2 seconds. Suddenly the communication system crackled to life. A strange musical voice filled the bridge of the human ship. Human vessel. This is Commander Kael'vas of the Zephyrian scout ship Void Whisper. Please do not fire. We wish to communicate. Morrison's hand froze in midair. Around the bridge, his crew looked at each other in amazement. First contact with an alien species, and the aliens were asking them not to shoot. Amy, open a response channel, Morrison ordered. Channel open, sir. Morrison took a deep breath. History would remember whatever he said next. Commander Kael'vas, this is Captain Jake Morrison. We're listening. Aboard the Void Whisper, Kael'vas fought to keep his voice steady. Captain Morrison, I apologize for scanning your vessel without permission. We did not mean to appear hostile. Then, why were you hiding from us? Morrison asked. The question hit Kael'vas like a physical blow. How could he explain that his people had been preparing to invade and conquer the human species? How could he admit that they had seen humans as nothing more than primitive creatures to be enslaved? We were conducting a survey of your solar system, he said finally. We did not expect to encounter active space travel. It was not technically a lie, but it was far from the complete truth. Commander Morrison's voice carried a note of steel. Our scans show your ship is heavily armed. Survey vessels don't usually carry enough firepower to destroy planets. Kael'vas looked at Nimrata in surprise. How do they know about our weapon systems? Sir, while we were scanning them, they were scanning us. Their sensors are primitive, but they're more effective than we expected. Morrison's voice came through the communication system again. Commander Kael'vas, I'm going to be direct with you. We know you're not here for peaceful exploration. Your ship is a warship, and you've been gathering intelligence about our capabilities. The question is, what do you plan to do with that information? For the first time in his military career, Commander Kael'vas found himself completely outmaneuvered by a supposedly primitive enemy. The humans had seen through his deception, analyzed his ship, and forced him into a position where he had to choose between honesty and open warfare. Captain Morrison, he said slowly, I must speak truthfully with you. My people are part of a large galactic civilization called the Dominion. We have been expanding across the galaxy for thousands of years. You've come to add Earth to your empire, Morrison said. It was not a question. That was the original plan, yes? Kael'vas looked around his bridge at his crew. Every one of them was staring at him in shock. Never in the history of the Galactic Dominion had a commander admitted defeat to a primitive species. Captain Morrison, after studying your people, I have concluded that any attempt to conquer humanity would be a catastrophic mistake. Explain. Your species is unlike any we have encountered before. You are natural warriors. Your entire civilization is built around the concept of warfare. Even if we could defeat your current military forces, the cost would be enormous. And the survivors would never stop fighting us. There was a long pause before Morrison responded. Commander, are you saying that your people choose their targets based on how easy they are to conquer? Yes, Kael'vas admitted. Then you've made a serious error in judgment about humanity. I realize that now, Captain. On the Explorer's bridge, Morrison looked around at his crew. Chief Engineer Parker was grinning despite the serious situation. Weapons Officer Clark looked disappointed that he wouldn't get to test their weapons against alien technology. Navigator Wright was already planning courses to follow the alien ship if it tried to escape. Commander Kael'vas, Morrison said, I want to make something very clear to you. Humanity doesn't start fights, but we always finish them. If your Dominion decides to attack Earth, we'll make sure you regret it for the rest of your civilization's existence. I understand, Captain. And I will make sure my superiors understand as well. Good. Now, I have a question for you. How many other species has your Dominion conquered? Kael'vas hesitated. 17 different species across 42 star systems. And how many of them fought back? All of them fought initially. But they all surrendered when they realized resistance was futile. Morrison's voice took on a tone that made even the alien commander nervous. Commander, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Humans don't surrender. Ever we would rather die fighting than live as slaves. And if you destroy our planet, the survivors will spend their entire lives hunting down everyone responsible. Captain, I believe you. I hope you do, Commander. Because humanity is about to become a spacefaring civilization. In a few decades, we'll have ships capable of traveling between star systems. We'll be exploring the galaxy, whether your Dominion likes it or not. Kael'vas felt a chill run through his body. The thought of humans spreading across the galaxy was terrifying. A species of natural warriors with access to interstellar travel would change the balance of power forever. What do you propose, Captain Morrison? Simple. Your people leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone. We have no interest in conquering other species. Just want to explore the galaxy and find our place among the stars. And if the Dominion decides to attack humanity anyway,